How you
Yeah,
going,
it's definitely
Leon?
better through the
Dad?
computer.
Sweet. How you doing? What's happening?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
You hear that strange sound?
Yeah. Sounds like there's an alien invader taking over
Strange,
your
it's from behind my wall. I don't even have a next door neighbor.
construction. Oh no, they wouldn't be doing construction lockdown. Ba-dum.
I don't know what it is. It's a weird sound. I think it's like a pipe. Strange. Anyway, I'm good, bro. How you doing?
Good. Had a beautiful morning. Walked in Bondi.
Nice.
What have you
Sun's
been up
out.
to?
Huh?
What have you been up to this morning?
I actually had a bit of a sleep in, bit of morning pages.
Vibe.
That's pretty much it.
Vibe.
And now,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's lockdown. To be honest, I've been kind of like trying to not be so regimented in the way I want to do my days. I feel like I did the first 2 weeks of this lockdown super like just strict with myself of like routine and morning routine and all this stuff. And I don't know, this last week, it kind of like, it made me feel more trapped. It made me feel more like stuck in something. So I'm kind of just like not setting an alarm and letting
Hmm.
myself sleep in. I feel like I've got so many hours in the day because I'm not being called or like beckoned to do something else. So like I'm getting everything I need to get done anyway,
Yeah,
you
for sure.
know? And I just feel like my time clock is just a bit different. I feel like I'm just doing everything a bit later. I'm going to bed later. I'm waking up later. I don't know. It feels like my whole clock
Yeah.
has shift like 3 hours forward, you know,
Fair.
which
Adapting.
is strange for me. But
Hmm.
I'm just kind of rolling with it. I don't know. Fuck it, whatever.
Feels like yeah, they say change is as good as a holiday, right? It kind of feels like a holiday.
Yeah, I'm just kind of
Taking,
fucking just trying to
yeah.
roll with it and not be so, I don't know, especially someone like me who's super like routine, structure, like
Mm-mm.
discipline, and I'm just kind of just like practicing now that I've got time to practice not that. It's kind of nice to just be like, cool, I'm not going to wake up and do my morning routine. I'm actually just going to do whatever the fuck I want.
Does that feel good? Do you feel anxious
It's
about it? Like
yeah, there's both
that's the main
sides, both
part.
sides. There's parts of it that feel really good and liberating to be able to be in that control, to say no to myself and not
Mm.
be so like OCD about the way I function. So that side feels good. And then obviously the other side that's not satisfying what I know I want to do for myself. It's both. It's both sides.
Yeah, it's super
Again, the
interesting.
balance of it. I kind of said to myself this weekend, like, whatever, sleep in this weekend and do whatever you want.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, I know come Monday and I'll be back to my routine.
yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah.
that's good. It's funny. I was actually you said you saw those videos I sent you. I mean the recordings.
What year is that? That's the recording. What's that Fat Freddy's one? I couldn't really hear it. Were we at a concert?
Yeah, do you remember Fat Freddy's at the hall?
Horden Pavilion. Yes.
Yeah. Um, so yeah,
Correct.
how long have we been having these conversations for?
When was that? I don't know.
It was
Ages. Long.
2016. That
Yeah,
was
long time. It's
2016.
been 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Probably even
Um,
more, to be honest.
yeah. That's when I just
That's when
started
that's when you
recording
started
them.
recording them. Yeah.
Yeah. So funny. Actually, I was listening to that one this morning. Um,
The recording or the Fat Freddy's one?
no, the recording, and
Yeah.
that was like full power. Like
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
I realized how I only am just starting to realize those things that you were saying and that they're true.
I feel like I'm only now like listening back to it. It feels like, and I've been saying that shit to myself in my head and believing that stuff for about 5, 6 years now.
Mm.
Only now is it starting to manifest in my realm of like actually implementing those things that I'm talking about. So it took me, which obviously everyone will be different to whatever they're
Mm.
going through.
Yeah.
But for that specific thing, it's taken me 6 years to really understand in myself what discipline means to me, What
Mm.
now? I'm 29 this year. So yeah, since 23. Yeah, fucked. Crazy.
Yeah.
It was
The
my
one
last
girl.
year of uni. It was like when I was in my last year of uni. That's when all the like I guess the stress of uni was like really forcing me to like find structure and find ways to cope with the workload. I was doing 12-hour study days every
Mm.
day for close to 3 years.
I don't understand that because I just did uni and I never did a 12-hour study day. I guess I
I
did, but like
studied
not.
so much.
And you
I know.
still
I guess that
failed.
some people have to work for it. I don't know. You've always been smarter than me. Like
No, no, no. Do you know how hard I work? No, like no. You have to work. Like
I
I've
just have
never.
to work, bro. I would if I didn't study, I would have failed. Like I
Yeah,
just
of
have to.
course.
I just
That
have
whole
to do
thing
it.
of like when you're growing up at school, it's like, oh yeah, did you study for the test? Nah. Or it's like I'm naturally smart. Like that's such bullshit. It's
Yeah.
absolute bullshit. It's so
I mean,
egoic.
I think my biggest thing, and I see it, and I see the pattern in myself as a kid. I used to in school. I mean, we didn't go to the same school, but I was always in trouble, always late. I didn't give a shit. I was very like apathetic towards school, and I
Token fat guy.
realized,
Token fat guy.
tell you exactly, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, but I also realized this because I always felt like I didn't have to do it because I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
That's
Which
always
is
what it felt.
like laziness.
Yeah, it's like oh I know I can like I know I can do those math equations. I just
So I can relate to that in very much like a psychology way. Like I remember like when I was going through my shitty like days of like mental health and emotional health, I remember there was a voice in the back of my mind that says, you know, it's going to work out eventually. You know, really like there's nothing wrong. Like
inaction is the word.
yeah, I don't have to do anything about it because like I know that like, you know,
Well, I feel
I
like
don't have a
yeah,
serious, deep mental health, like, you know, illness or something. It's just kind of like,
a
it's,
phase and it will go away and it's
it's
a
something
chapter of my
small
life.
and like, yeah, but like, I think that's, yeah, in action, it's all about action, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Um, and so what I was, so just like, yeah, going into that conversation we recorded, I thought it was so interesting. Um,
I didn't get to
like
listen
just
to the whole thing. I only listened to the first like
I
five,
only
10.
listened to a tiny bit. I only listened to a tiny bit. I
How
literally
long is
just
it? I didn't even see how long. It's like 15, 20 minutes, no?
yeah, but I had to cut the whole thing down. So
Sure.
I just went to like a snippet, random snippet, and then sent it to you because I wanted you to hear it. But that snippet turned out to be so good. Um, all about like how life, how everything in life is difficult, and what discipline is like disciplining your mind to yeah. You were saying that like it's about disciplining your mind to come back to that fact over and over again, and that's what
I don't know.
actually
I was having this conversation with an ex-girlfriend actually, and I remember the first time we met. I said to her, I was just like, she's like, "How are you managing to do all these things? You're an artist. You're running the label. You're managing this. You travel. You make money. All this shit." And I was just like, I think for me the thing was accepting that life is hard, and that's not a bad thing. A lot of people associate that with negative. I don't. It's just hard. Like for a fat person to lose weight is hard. For a baby to learn how to walk is hard. Giving birth, I mean, I don't know what it's like, but it looks pretty fucking hard.
yeah
And all these things, all these great things in life that everyone wants to achieve, they're all hard. And I
yeah
think for me, when I started actually believing that life is hard in order to achieve these hard things, it makes it a lot easier. Hard becomes like your status quo, you know, like hard's no longer this thing that you like look up to as like, oh my God, it's so hard. Hard is just like, cool, this is going to require effort, time, dedication, and discipline to achieve this thing that I'm trying to achieve, this journey that I want to walk down, you know? And I think for me, accepting that, actually accepting it, again, I look back at the conversation.
yeah
It's
yeah
taken me 6 years.
you
I've
can
been saying
say
it.
it, you can
I've been saying
understand
it.
it intellectually.
Exactly. I've been saying it and talking about it and like trying my best to embody it, but I feel only
Yeah.
now as like a fucking, you know, like again, it comes down to that question of like, remember we used to laugh about it. Are you a man yet? You know, like how do you know when you're a man?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, my dad always says like as a joke, he's like, if you're asking yourself that question, you're not a man yet, you know, like you'll know when you're a man. And I feel like I've kind of hit that point now. Like I don't really ask myself that question. It's like I take responsibility for my own actions, my own flaws, my own fuck ups, my own trauma, my own triggers, all these things are like,
Mm,
I see them and I'm responsible for them. And it's my role to fix. And I think
mm.
that's, and I guess the what makes me a man is it's the same thing as what makes a woman a woman. There's no gender to it. You know, it's not like we discussed it on that walk the other day. There's no gender to it. You know,
No.
It's just about
It's more like
being.
an adult, more like an adult.
Yeah, exactly. It's more an adult. Exactly. Correct.
And it's super interesting. I'm reading a super interesting book at the moment. It's called, and it's actually been triggered from I was dating this girl. We had these conversations that really, like, really, really showed to me that, like, so I started seeing things in a new light, and the only way I can describe it is like whatever someone is struggling with, I kind of now see it as on a scale of maturity. Like you're either immature or mature. Like
I think
basically,
it's a spectrum. Yeah.
because basically, I think when we're children, and teenagers and kids and whatever, there's so many parts of our life. Like we have so many layers of who we are,
But then again,
and
it comes. Yeah. Continue.
and then when, like, let's say you grow up and you're older, and for me it was manifesting as like um just like manifesting like in certain ways, whether it's like anger, anxiety, or um just not being able to do something, feeling stuck in something. I feel that like the way I see it now is that that part of myself is still at the same basically state as I was as a kid. It hasn't grown up. Like that part, like that layer of myself is still immature, and it has to
100%.
go to maturity. Um, and there's so many layers of ourselves that need to
100%.
mature.
Well, I look at myself as a kid. And again, I say as a kid, and then I look at myself now, and I'm still the same fucking thing. Again, certain things in me that haven't matured since my
Yeah,
child
certain things are still kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I look at
yeah.
my child stuff. Like I used to be a super frustrated kid. Like if something didn't go my way, or like I don't know, it seems so stupid, but I remember being so frustrated at my socks. If my socks, no, but seriously, I used to like bite my socks. You know, like where the seam on your sock meets. I used to lose my shit as a kid. I'm talking like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't remember how old I was, but like I used to lose my shit at my socks and like get frustrated because they weren't comfortable. I couldn't fit them properly, or I couldn't put them on properly, or whatever it was. And that level of frustration, and then I see it in my adult life where things come up and it's just 0 to 300. I just get frustrated. And it's like, cool, this child part of me has not developed properly. And I
That's
can
it.
see that. And it's
That's
like,
it.
again, it comes down to taking responsibility of one, recognizing it and being like, okay, cool. I recognize that that part of myself is still 5 years old. And how do I fix this? Because I can't keep
And then
reacting like
again, yeah, I completely agree. And then this is where I think these conversations and conversations in
it comes
general
down to
come.
honesty as well. You have to be honest with yourself and not
Yes,
feel so attacked by yourself. Like, for me to realize as a
yes,
29-year-old male that I've still got a 5-year-old
yes,
boy inside me,
yes.
that's okay. Like
I know
at
it's,
first, it's like this huge resistance to it. It's like, no, I'm not that. It's not me
yeah,
anymore. And then after time, you actually just soften and you're just like, cool. No, I am. There are aspects of me that are still 5 years old and still wanting love from my mom and still wanting
yeah,
to feel safe and still wanting to feel secure and still feeling all these things that like some things
yeah.
haven't developed.
So yeah, I want to get into
It's
that.
funny.
And
It's funny how it is. And it's funny when you see it in friends around you and you can see whether or not they're conscious of it or not, or people around you even, like certain reactions that people get.
well, that's the thing. Yeah, I think it is about like, yeah, I actually want to get into that, but I feel like that we have a good vehicle for getting into that because I was having to think about it this morning. And so a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about the pillars of health, right? So physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual. Like
Yeah.
I really find that super. I'm seeing how that's super like relevant and
Well, yeah,
super.
it's just something that I feel like I've developed. Those pillars of health are something that, like, from the books I've read, from the experiences I've felt, and the way I've come to, and I don't even want to say come through my problems because those have come through my success. It's things that I've used. Those pillars, I feel like if all of those are in check, for me at least, then I'm, yeah, like that's like my checklist.
Yeah, so cool. Let's so coming back to like conversation in general. What I was saying before, why I think it's like the power of conversation is essentially to really progress in anything, you have to be aware of it first, right? And I think so I like to, but like with being aware, I think definitions are like really helpful. Like when you define something, it helps you to recognize it, and like symptoms of something, it helps you recognize it. So I think it'd be, so I want to go into the 5 pillars of health, and then I want to go into like one in particular, the emotional pillar, because that's something I've been working on. I think that's what you're just talking about then. And I think a lot of the, you know, when you haven't grown up in something, I've realized that like, cool, like spiritually, I feel like I'm growing in that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm realizing there's something in me, and I wasn't aware of it until I've been recently reading this book, but I'm realizing, and I want to get into the definitions of it, but that it is the emotional pillar. And it's hard to kind of define them and like kind of separate them. And I think it's important because
I think it's impossible to separate them. I think those pillars are intertwined, whether you like it. You can't have emotional health without physical health.
sure. So this is, I was actually thinking about that, and this is how I see it. Like they all affect each other. So if your physical health is out of balance, then your emotional health and your mental health will be out of balance, for example.
By default, yeah.
But at the same time, you can work on each individually,
Totally.
and one can be in need of care the most to get better.
Totally.
So like it's like
Well, everyone's going to need different levels of those things. You know, some people might need to be more physical. Some people might need to read more. Some people, you know, like it doesn't even matter what it is. Some people meditate. Some people don't meditate. Doesn't mean it's.
And that's where it comes to being. That's where it comes to being honest with where you're at, and being aware of where you're at.
It's a tool. It's a tool that quite literally cannot be compared to anyone else. That's the beauty of it. You know, like there's no point comparing my pillars of health to your pillars of health, or to someone in India's, you know, in India's system of life, or Africa's system of life, or it's so individually. It's crazy how individual it is. You know, we've all got different lives, different ways of upbringing, different, like it's incomparable.
Yeah, so let's bring it to a realistic situation. I like to measure things. So, firstly, like can you measure, like rate out of 100 your health on each of those pillars at this point, like individual? You know, like what would you say your mental health is at, your physical health?
Oh God.
Just like quickly, it's not like, it's just,
I'm just saying, like,
just to show that there can be at different levels, and that you might have one at 30.
I mean, I've never really thought of it like that. I more see it as like a spectrum and an oscillation between 2 points. And I find that there's a healthy 2 points that I like to be at. And if it drops below that point, I start feeling symptoms, you know? Let's start physical, for example.
Yeah.
Physical, my goal since my operation, my goal has been to run 10 kilometers. That's my goal, to run 10 kilometers and to be a certain X amount of flexibility and strength. That's my personal goal. And if I'm going for a run, or I'm doing my exercises, and I can feel that I'm not performing at a level, and that doesn't mean I have to do great every day and push my boundary every day, or I can't drop below a certain level. But if I can feel that something's not propelling me like in a way that's progressive, then I start getting symptoms. I can feel it. I physically feel it in my lungs. I physically feel it in my body, my circulation, my breathing, and it's frustrating.
And that's defining physical health, right? It's like,
well, for me, there's different, I guess, flags in myself that I know are checkpoints. Yeah, they're like, for me, like, again, everyone's going to be different, but for me, especially with my chest and my lung situation, I know when I'm going for a run if I'm breathing properly or not. You know, I can feel if there's resistance in my chest and my lungs. I can feel my left lung is struggling compared to my right side. You know, and there's the things that, like, again, I don't think anyone can understand because it's not their body and they haven't gone through what I've gone through.
Okay, so personally for you, how would you rate your physical health out of 100 today?
I feel like the last few weeks have been oscillating between a solid 70 and 85.
Okay, and today? Because it is very daily as well.
Well, to be fair, I've just come out of like a heavy flu, and my chest has not been good at all.
Okay.
Which is kind of like my gauge of health is my chest, to be honest.
Yeah, fair.
Probably today's been probably on the lower side of life, probably around the 70 mark.
Okay. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm feeling physically, probably 85, 90. Like I'm feeling good. Like I've had good
The life.
sleep. Huh?
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Yeah, sleep. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't. I'm not sleeping well.
Yeah. So no, the reason that I'm talking about this is because, like, let's say you are at a 50, in a physical health, it's gonna impact what we call quality of life, right? And your mental health, your
Totally.
emotional health.
Totally.
But let's say like you're for a fact that you're at a 50 physically.
Mm.
It's like if you bring that up to an 80,
But again,
it's gonna
it comes
impact.
back. But hear me out. So this is where it gets confusing. So you right now are saying that you're at an 85% of physical health. But let's say your emotional health is at a very low, at a 20, and you feel suicidal and you're feeling like shit. I
Hmm.
don't think you're in a healthy space to judge your physical health. I don't think your perception of your physical health is accurate at that point in time.
Well, I think you can if you have really good measures. For example, if you're
But
measuring your
how can you?
love.
But how? If I've been at a 20 before, like I've been below 20 in terms of my emotional and spiritual health, and I know for a fact that my perception of self, my perception of the world, my perception of my emotions, of my physical realm, were off, completely off,
Hmm.
because I'm at such a low in those areas. You know,
Yeah, and I think it comes down. I think that's kind of what I'm getting
like
at.
I don't know, like I look at myself in hospital, like when I'm talking like the moments of waking up from my operation.
Hmm.
And genuinely, the only thing I could think of was dying. That's all I wanted to do was not be awake.
Hmm.
At that point, I've got zero perception of my health. I've got zero perception of where I am, who I am, what I want, and that's not a healthy place to be.
Agreed. I think when something falls below a certain level,
Correct.
which makes it catastrophic or which makes it like an
Red zone.
emergency,
The red zone.
then all your focus goes on that.
Correct.
So
Correct. The red zone, which
yeah,
makes your whole system go into a red zone.
yeah, everything focuses on that because it's an emergency. It's a red zone. Um,
I don't know if
so
you see your pillars of health as like tubs of water, and you've
yeah,
got 5 tubs of water, and let's say one is very low, and it needs to be refilled. The other tubs are going to try fill that. Do you know what I'm saying? Which means you're depleting your other tubs now.
yeah,
You know?
agreed. Yeah, if something's low, it weighs down
There is only like if we call it like each pillar of water has 100% of water, and certain things in your life can really damage you that you can never get to 100% again because you physically lost water. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Certain things in life are so damaging that yeah, the vessel broke and like your 100 is now 90, which that happens to everyone, so it's totally okay. But let's say you're born with this amount of water. Some people are born with more, some people are born with less. And like your whole life, the water is moving up and down. You're transferring across these different pillars.
daily,
Keep yourself,
daily.
and again, it comes down to the word balance. You're trying to
Yeah,
keep yourself balanced, and your body does that naturally. You go outside and it's cold. Your body's going to start shaking to warm itself up. All these
yeah.
things are natural in life as well. And just because we're conscious of these systems, we try regulate our minds. That's the only thing we're trying to regulate is our mind and our control over it. That's all it is at the end of the day.
Mm, mm,
You
mm.
don't feel emotions in your hand. You're not waking up and going, oh my God, I feel so sad. And you feel it in your hand. You're not feeling it there. You're feeling it in your head and your heart, and maybe even your stomach. There may even be some neurons in your stomach and your gut. And people say they've got this gut feeling.
Mm, mm.
But
Yeah,
those are the three epicenters of feeling and emotion and where you feel these things is your head, your heart, and your gut.
agreed.
There's no, I mean, I'm yet to meet someone who goes, "Oh my God, I'm feeling so depressed. I just need to cut my foot off." Like no, that's just not how it works.
No.
You feel depression in your head and your heart and your gut. You feel heartbreak. You physically feel it in your heart. Yet it's an emotional thing. Nothing's actually wrong with your heart.
Hmm.
So again, it comes down to balancing these levels of water.
Okay, let's go through. Let's just quickly define each. So, how do you define physical health?
Wow. Um,
Just you, whatever. It's your opinion. Physical health. It's not an easy question if you
No,
haven't thought.
it's not easy at all. Physical health for me
I think,
would be purely, if we were to like completely separate the realms,
yeah,
how my body functions on a physical level.
yeah,
Like in terms of like actually like how do my muscles work? Is my blood flowing properly?
yeah.
Are
Energy.
yeah. Like physically, are the chemicals in my brain on a physical level, are these balanced out?
Yeah.
Am I breathing properly?
Aches
Am
and
I sore? Is
pains.
my body sore? Am I in
Yeah,
pain?
aches
Am
and
I tight?
pains. Yeah.
Like this is physical health for me. If I'm waking
Sure.
up, sleep is also a physical thing. Am I feeling rested?
Yeah.
That's physical for me.
Exactly. Because let's say your physical health is feeling at 50. Like you want to know that, because then you can know exactly what to do, because
Yeah.
certain things are good for your physical health,
I
So
know,
like,
I don't know, if I look at my stool, for example, my shit, if I take a shit and I've got diarrhea for a week, but I'm still sleeping good, there's still something in me that's not healthy, and I can feel that, you
yeah,
know?
so you focus on things that are related to the stool.
Exactly,
And
correct.
so
Focus on your eating, and you focus on sleeping, maybe, and maybe your anxiety is fucking up with your digestion or whatever it is. So there could be, again, it leaks into the mental, emotional realm. There could be things mentally,
it
emotionally
leaks,
that are
yes.
affecting my physical realm.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's very hard just to talk about physical, but yeah, physical health for me is the way my body is physically functioning. Is it functioning optimally?
Yeah. So like, if you're feeling lethargic, and um, it could be for many reasons. It could be emotional, but let's say you identify the root cause. You're right. Things leak into other things. Like, emotions can make your stomach feel weird, can make your digestion fuck up, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you have a genuine stomach bug, or you've just been punched in the stomach, or you have a stomach
Yeah, totally.
injury, then that's the root of the cause, right?
I mean, it could be one of the root of the
it
cause.
could,
Yeah,
but the fact is that there are usually objective, identifiable root causes to things.
totally, totally.
And the more you can identify that and know
Yeah,
which pillar it fits under, and then
correct.
which
Which activities will fix those things? Correct.
exactly, that's where the definitions help. So like, that's
Well,
why.
that's technically like when I created in my head these 5 pillars of health and how to function my life through them. That's kind of exactly the basis of it. It's like, cool, I'm feeling something not nice.
Yeah,
What is that not nice feeling? Which
Yeah.
which pillar does it fit under?
Exactly.
Okay, now it's fitting under X, Y, or Z.
Okay.
Well, these are the activities that I know will help X, Y, and Z,
Exactly.
regardless of how I'm feeling. And that requires discipline to do those activities, regardless of how I'm feeling in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. I think, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, so that's physical. What about mental? Because it's hard to distinguish between mental and emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is a distinct there. So I'm learning, like, a big revelation I had this morning, or like over the last 24 hours from reading this book, is that, like, I realized, like, my emotional body, or if you want to call it body, or just that emotional pillar in me, is the thing that is most, like, unhealthy or low or whatever. But
I think it's for everyone.
I thought it was mental, but I realize
I
now
mean,
that,
I'll tell you the difference for mental and
okay,
emotional for me. Mental is the same as physical, but it's how my mind/brain is functioning. Am I learning things? Am I growing? Am I putting more information in my brain?
are you
So for
retaining
me
it?
personally, things I do for my mental are things like reading, crosswords, chess, learning my bass guitar. Um, these things feed my brain. Learning things, going to uni, studying courses, having intellectual conversations. These are things that are in the mental realm for me. Is my brain growing as a muscle? Is my brain growing? That's
Yeah,
mental health for me.
sure. Yeah,
You know, again, so tied into emotional and spiritual.
yeah,
Like
it's
all
tied in.
tied
Yeah,
in. But that's what it is for me.
tied in, but it's separate.
Yeah.
So what's emotion?
Whereas feeding my brain information and making my brain grow has nothing to do with how I feel.
Yeah.
Where the emotional centers is more how I'm reacting to things in my environment. That's my emotional health. Like my dad gets put into hospital. How am I reacting to that? Like what is my emotional reaction to that? My girlfriend leaves me, dumps me. What is my emotional reaction to that? I get the job. Am I excited? And if I'm not, why am I not excited? All these things are like the emotional side. My reaction to an external thing toward me is the emotional health.
Okay, so cool. I want to get into the emotional health because like you said before, you said, I think everyone's is emotional. Like
I
I was
think,
having,
yeah.
I was having this, like, yeah, I was just diving into that today. And one thing, one way I like to think about it was that, we say like we're in a pandemic, like COVID pandemic. I reckon we've been in an emotional pandemic for so long.
Look at how men are raised. Men are raised not to express their emotions. Men are raised to be leaders. Men are raised all these things. We're not raised to talk about our emotions. And it's funny, the second we do talk about our emotions, we're seen as weak. It's funny. I'll give you a personal example.
Yeah.
A partner of mine, we won't go into it. A partner of mine, when we first met, used to say she loves the fact that I'm in touch with my emotions and that I can express myself and all this stuff. And then 6 months, a year later into the relationship, I'm expressing my emotions and feeling emotional and crying, and I'm getting told to man up and not be so emotional. So like, again, even though we're told that it's okay to express our emotions, I still think as a society, men are told not to express their emotions, and we feel weak and we feel demasculated and we feel less. We feel smaller and less when we express our emotions, and I think that's an unhealthy thing.
So let's explore this topic, but doing it through the framework of what are your practices, and I'll go into like I think a big discussion will come over because it will tie into how it all works and the philosophy behind it. But what are your practices for emotional well-being? Because this is something that I realized today.
Well, let me
Like,
pull out my phone for this. I'll show you. Let me go through
okay,
something, because it's something like I look at it every single day of my life.
because I need this help. So like I'm excited to hear this and to explore it.
So the way I've broken it down for me, and maybe I'll even send you this and you can see it and maybe put up a structure for people to see. I don't know, like for me, there's certain things, and again, I'm coming from a place where my I'm coming from a place where I've been at rock bottom, like really been at rock bottom, not knowing what to do, and like I'm thinking of bad things. So I've broken it down into my essentials, and then there's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and soul, if you will. I don't know what to call that, but that's what resonates with me, I guess. So to bring it down to like the essentials, in order for me to do anything properly, I have to do essentials, which is, for me, again, it's different for everyone, but I need to make my bed and clean my room, or clean my kitchen, live in a clean space. I need to be hygienic, which is brushing teeth, showering, and eating healthy. And those are like, I'm talking like the world could be coming to a fucking end, and I still have to do that shit.
Yeah, if you're not doing those, no
Essential.
matter what emotional thing, no matter
I didn't give a yeah. For
stressing
me, I
yourself,
didn't give a fuck what's going on. The world could be
yeah.
ending. My parents could be dying. I could be diagnosed with fucking cancer. I don't care what's going on
Or
in my
you
life.
could have the best relationships in the world where you expressed your emotions, you're completely
On
supported.
either side of the world, on either side of those spectrums,
Yeah,
positive or negative, I
those are
have to be doing those
foundations.
essentials.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
foundation
agree. I agree. I agree. Yeah,
has to happen.
and those are like having. I guess another way to look at it is those are having the other pillars at a certain level where
That's setting a standard. That's my
they're not
standard.
in the red zone. Yeah,
That's my standard. Yeah, exactly. My standard is a good level of health.
of harmony just across everything.
Yeah, just across everything. Yeah, general. Yeah, my essentials. I call them my essentials. That's just what they
Yeah,
are for me.
yeah.
And then I go into physical. So physical for me, again, these are my personal things that I do is gym, yoga, running, walking, stretching, and my Shaolin training. Those are my physical realms. That's
No
just what I do
food.
physically.
Food doesn't matter.
Huh?
Food doesn't matter.
Well, eating healthy is part of my essentials.
Sleep.
Eating healthy and sleeping healthy are part of my essentials.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't count those to my activities because I'm doing that. That's my essential. Like it's happening. It's baseline.
Yeah, because sleep affects your physical, emotional,
Everything.
mental, spiritual. So
Food, sleep, cleanliness, hygiene. These are things that are just essential to my life. I don't care what's going on in my world.
right. It's funny how it's interesting how exercise is it's kind of like, you can survive without exercise, but you can't really survive without food or sleep. Like,
Yeah.
like it is very important, but maybe it's not on the essential level. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's funny how making your bed makes the essentials there.
100% it does.
Interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. Just making my bed is just like a thing for me. Like,
Yeah, I know.
has to be done. So that's my physical stuff: gym, yoga, running, walking, stretching, and my Shaolin training. And then I kind of, again, it's funny because I boxed mental and emotional into one category.
Yeah, which
Because I feel that, well, because I did it because I feel the things that I do for myself mentally, making my brain grow and learn things, directly affects my emotional state.
I know, but I've realized that like I've been really good with my mental, but my emotional.
Well, some people couple their emotional health with their physical health. You know, some people go for a run and they immediately emotionally feel better.
Yeah, but I think on a real level, like there's some I think everything does fit in, but I think they do have their distinct things. For example, like expressing yourself and feeling supported by or having people to support you around you. That's like an emotional experience, right?
That's,
Feeling
to me, I
safe.
would put that as social health.
Oh yeah, we forgot about social.
Social's there. Yeah, you can't forget social. Seeing people. The second I'm involved with someone else, for me, that falls into to social. And yes, social health has direct benefits to emotional health and mental health. Yes, direct links, and spiritual health. They're all linked. Again, they're all linked.
Okay. Anyway,
To
continue.
say like right now, like what me and you are doing for me is, of course, it's mental, emotional. We're talking, but for me, this is social.
Yeah.
To me, this falls under social. For me.
Primarily social.
Primarily, this falls under social. I'm communicating with someone else. I'm not doing this by myself in my notes or my book or in my own head on a run. I'm doing this with you. So now it's a social thing.
Yeah, which comes back to how they all link.
Exactly. They're all, I mean, again, I'll say it a billion times, but yeah, they're linked. You can't separate them. So yeah, I coupled mental and emotional together, and those things for me are meditation, Tai Chi, my Shaolin form, Qigong, my reading, my Sudoku, and my chess. Those are things that like...
Those are your emotional things.
Emotional and mental. Emotional and mental.
Interesting. So do you have social as the next one?
So my next
social
one is spiritual and soul, and then my last one's social.
Okay.
Yeah, so the reason, I don't know, emotional, I put meditation, Tai Chi, my Shaolin form as emotional health. It helps me regulate my emotions because I'm breathing, I'm meditating, I'm thinking things, feelings are coming out, and I'm regulating them.
Yeah.
And for me, that is practicing how to regulate my emotions. You know, when I'm sitting in meditation, again, my Sifu always said that meditation isn't about not thinking anything. It's about thinking of one thing and being able to control that thing. And like the monkey in the brain stops jumping. It just sits for a second and just observes. And that for me is an emotional practice.
So when you're feeling the emotion of anxiety, let's bring it to a relational level. I actually want to bring it to a relational level because this is where I was looking into. Let's say you have I don't know what your experience is in relationships and what emotions you feel, but let's say in a relationship you're feeling certain emotions. What kind of things do you do to get back to emotional well-being if you're stuck? I mean, I guess there's certain natural feelings, but then there's also like a sense of being stuck in a certain emotion. You're becoming a pattern.
I'd come to this list. Let's say I'm feeling anxious in my relationship and I'm not sure what it is and I'm just feeling not good.
Yeah.
Something's worrying me. I'd come to my list and I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 things there, 8 things there. And I'd start with meditation. I'd sit down. I'd meditate for 20 minutes. If I'm still feeling anxious, I'm going to go do Tai Chi. If I'm still feeling anxious after that, I'm going to do my form. If I'm still feeling anxious, which is very fucking rare after an hour and a half of doing these activities, I'll go to Qigong. You know, like, and I've got enough activities there that I know those are my tools, like my toolbox. I carry my toolbox with me. And I know for a fact that there's no way, at least in my experience, I've never done all those things in a day and still felt the same. There's no fucking way.
Wow. Okay.
There's absolutely no way. Like, it's actually impossible.
Yeah. But let's say it is like, I'm reading this book called
Well, what I realize is that let's say I'm feeling anxious, either through those activities, the anxiety will ease itself and I'll have a clearer vision of what's happening, or it will get worse and I'll start realizing what the actual root of the cause is. So either way, it's a positive thing. I either get
yeah, for sure. So let's say you come to that point where it gets worse or it doesn't work. Can you think of like experiences, what you've done in that? Like, for example, it could be, let's say something about the other person is bothering you. It could be talking about it. Let's say it's like a deep anxiety from, that you've had for years. And
that's an anxiety, a fear of
you're
commitment.
there. What do you do then? Because it's an emotion.
Well, what's the question? What's your question?
Well, what have you done in those situations before?
When I have felt anxious in a relationship.
No, when it's still there, when those things don't work.
What I'm saying is that those things do work.
Okay.
I think for me at least, it took a long time to develop the list of what actually are those things for me. What is in my toolbox?
So then why were you anxious? Usually what was the root of the anxiety then? Is it just, I'm not doing enough showering?
I'll use an example. My fear of commitment in a relationship.
Okay.
For me, it hits a point where it's like, cool, I love this woman. She's beautiful. She's perfect. We're good for each other. Sex is on point. We're yum. We're good. We're good. We communicate well. We respect each other. It's great. And then it always hits that point of like, oh, fuck. Does that mean that this is the one? That question comes into my head and it cooks me out. Because what? Is this the only woman I'm going to sleep with and love and be with for the rest of my life? And it cooks me out. It does. It fries my fucking head. And then that question comes in my head and I think to myself, it's a stupid thing. It's a stupid question. It's an irrelevant, it's a fear response. It's a fear response and it's a fear of commitment. So I say to myself, cool, I'm recognizing this response. What can I do to reduce this fear response? Because I know my intellectual self knows from all the books I've read and all the things I've experienced in my life, this is a silly thing to fear because I'm either going to continue with her because it feels good or I'm not going to continue with her because it doesn't feel good. Those are the two options. Mm-hmm. If it feels good, I'm going to continue. If it doesn't feel good, I'm going to stop. So what's the fear? There shouldn't be this fear. So then I go into myself and I meditate and I sit there and I do my form and I might go for a run. I might do things that trigger certain things and it will either calm down and I'll see like, cool, this is just a fear response, or a truth will come in and go, wow, this woman might not be right for me. I'm not ready to commit to this woman actually. And maybe I should take things a bit slower, And that's, again, it just helps put things into perspective. It doesn't always mean it's going to cure it. Again, this thing is these 5 pillars of health and this toolbox I carry around isn't a cure. It's a toolbox. It's a toolbox and it's tools that I use for myself to get understanding and clarity in things in my life. It's a toolbox. It's all it is. It's not there to fix the issue in my life. No. It's not going to give me the answer whether or not I need to be with this woman or not. No, that's for me to make up that. But I can use these tools to get a bit better understanding of myself and the situation I'm in. Because life can be very overwhelming when there's heaps of emotion, heaps of shit going on, all this stuff. I don't know, even now, like relationships during the pandemic, like who's to know that we're all not just trauma bonding? We all just might be afraid that the world's coming to a fucking end and we're not going to be able to like meet people. And this person I do have a connection with, and it could just all just be trauma bonding. We don't even know what the fuck's going on. So for me, having this toolbox of these pillars with all these activities I can do, it's like a compass. It's like a compass. It's like the Yoav compass. It's like no matter how much noise is going on, these are activities that are personalized to me. There's no point someone else taking these activities and expecting them to work. I'm sure some of them would, but it's about Josh finding his compass and his activities that work for him.
So So yeah, I want
Yeah,
to.
you might change Shaolin for dancing. I don't know. You might change it for rock climbing. You might change it for fucking doing puzzles. I don't
So I'll
know.
tell you where I'm at right this moment. I've come to I've come to the belief in my world that something, because I wasn't even aware of this on a, like, I feel like I've had a bit of a realization, um, that my emotional pillar is something that is out of, like, is not a level I want. And number two is that I think I've been aware of emotions, obviously, but I've been convinced that I was working on that emotional pillar, but really I was not effectively working on that in the past. And now, from a new level of awareness, kind of,
I think,
um,
yeah,
from a new level of awareness, realizing like there is there are certain things I can do, and that would help the
correct.
emotional side of the emotional pillar in my life.
Again, I think emotional, it's very hard to work on the emotional pillar. It's very easy to work on the physical pillar because you look at yourself and you go, cool, I need to eat this and I need to run or I need to lift this or I need to like do things physical. With the emotional realm, it's a bit more difficult because it's exactly the word that you said. It's about awareness and bringing awareness to the way that
Difficult,
we are
yes.
reacting to things.
Difficult, yes. But I was having a brainstorm, and I reckon there are definite ways to, like you said, it's more subtle, but there are definite ways to be specifically working on the emotional.
I think
And I'm reading.
I think the spiritual health and the soul side of things, for me at least, is the best way to understand my emotional self. I think spirit, like I don't know, like for me, like if we could go continue down the list of like how I couple things, so that we just did the mental, emotional, and like I look at spiritual, and I put my morning pages in there. I put piano, bass guitar, writing music, recording music, music production. These are things that feed my soul. This is things that like you put me in a white room for the rest of my life. These are the things I'm going to ask for, you know, like these are things that feed my soul. And it's like when I feed my soul, these things, which for me happens to be the music side of things and writing, it shifts my emotional spectrum. It shifts my
Of
awareness around my
course,
emotions.
of course. But I feel like this is the whole conversation we're having. It's that, yes, they all affect each other, but what I'm when I'm feeling physically out of balance, I'll go do something very specifically physical. And I think the more, like, if it is the way that I suspected, that they can be separated very distinctly.
They can.
They all affect each other, but but the fact that you can work on one in a very, like, once, like doing something that
Of
predominantly
course, you can
affects
definitely work
one
on
thing.
one. You can definitely work on one that is definitely more targeted and spotlighted towards that pillar for sure.
Yeah,
But I don't think that's, for me at least, that's not the approach.
but not at the expense of not at the expense of the other
If
things.
you're walking towards something, you're walking away from something else.
No,
Fact.
but if you're at a comfortable level of 80 on all of the rests, but your emotional is at like a 60, um, and you're not going to sacrifice anything really too much, or even if you do, you'll walk away from the other way, but you only bring it down from an 80 to a 75, and you're still comfortable with being at a 75. Like, sacrifice, right? You sacrifice the levels of the other things because you want to work on one, or one it needs worked on. That's what I'm kind of getting at
I
from that.
feel I feel specifically with the emotional pillar, it relies heavily on all the other four pillars. I think that's how you work on the emotional pillar, by working on the four other pillars.
Okay, I want to. Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. So let's explore this one idea, and it will. I guess it will talk to that point you have. So I'm reading this book called um, Adults. Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I think that's what it's called, or something like that. So, like, what's it called? Let's quickly check. It's basically that. It's about It's about emotional immaturity. Okay.
Which we all
And we all have. And the whole book is like saying that the effect that if you have an emotionally immature parent, what the effect that that can have on children.
correct.
So, for example, let's say when you're like this would be something I would call emotionally damaging, not so much mentally or spiritually but predominantly emotionally damaging, which to me kind of confirms the fact that like emotional can be put on its own. Like, let's say you're a kid, you're 5, and you're sad, you're crying, and you like, I think a healthy thing to do, like even as an adult, would be to like go to someone and express what you're sad about, right? Like, would you like, that's kind of like a healthy action.
Depends on
Yeah,
what the
well,
sadness is about.
yeah, it depends. But like, let's say it's like you're feeling hurt by something that, like a relationship, whatever. But let's say when you're young, you do that, and your parent responds with like, doesn't want to hear it, doesn't validate that that is an important thing to
You.
focus on. Yeah, to you, like it's not important to them to help that
Also,
emotional
yeah. So let's say you've got
space.
emotional damage from your parents.
No, but let's say let's say that just happens.
Mm.
Then that can like, if that, like that would be emotionally
It
damaging, I
would be
think.
emotionally damaging. It would be spiritually damaging. It'd be damaging. Yeah, it wouldn't be nice.
But wouldn't you say that's a predominantly emotional thing? That's an emotional experience, right?
Maybe.
You're
Yeah.
feeling an emotion, and to get for that emotion to be dealt with
What
healthily.
is that emotion? Is that emotion coming from something that let's say, for example, let's say I'm playing the bass guitar as a kid and I get really frustrated, so I start crying, and then I get that response from my parent. That would also be very spiritually crushing because bass guitar is my instrument and I fucking love it and it's good for my soul. So maybe it would make me not want to play bass anymore. So it depends where it comes from. Again, for me, it's not about separating them. I don't know why you have this desire to separate.
I think I have a desire to separate it because I think I've pinpointed in my life. I think it relates to relationships. Like I notice myself in relationships of
Okay, so
all
I'll
kinds.
ask you this. I'll ask you this. What are your spiritual soul activities that you do?
So
Your soul
I
that makes
define
you feel
soul as
alive.
things that give me meaning. Like yeah, I associate the soul with like a sense of meaning and purpose.
So
And
what are those things for you? That don't involve anyone else. That are your things. That if you were locked in a white room, that you would ask for.
um, well, for example, this kind of thing is is like a spiritual thing, like something that I truly value, which is well-being and health, and putting action towards that, and I guess
But
feeding that.
what's an activity? What's an activity that you can do by yourself that has nothing to do with anyone else?
So
That
for
is
me,
just
yeah.
your
So for
soul.
me, I don't really see the need to do it like necessarily it has to be like by myself, but I do have those things. So I find like my soul feels alive when I'm writing, just about life, just kind of thinking about life and
So
appreciating
philosophy,
certain things.
philosophy.
Not philosophy, but more like gratitude and getting to points of appreciation, and also a sense of like, and like finding solutions to valuable problems within my life, within the world, like solving problems that I find that are meaningful. So whether that's like, understanding myself deeper, understanding how life works, just kind of getting to that sense of awe and like, wow, this is, yeah, like something like just like realizing something like that, it lights up my soul. So yeah, I mean, that's my definition, or my practices that lead me to feel spiritually healthy.
So I feel like when I look back at the conversation we had 6 years ago that you recorded, and I looked at myself back then, and all the activities I was doing were very
Mm.
headspace activities, you know, very in my head, thinking, writing, talking about exactly problem solving these things, understanding life. And I feel what really changed things for me again was finding Shaolin, which was a physical thing, you know, and then playing bass, these physical things. I
So I do
feel
have physical things, but you asked me like things that are alone. So I find other physical things spiritually fulfilling. For example, my career. Like I feel like my purpose for work and this like the subconscious mind is happy with like it's taken time with what I'm doing because I see that I see the value that I can add to society, whether it's now or like the skills I'm developing to be able to add to society in the future. For me, that's so like engaging in my work is like spiritually fulfilling for me because
amazing,
I see meaning and purpose in it that really aligns with my values.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. What happens if that work disappears?
Well, I can find another way to express that.
Amazing.
I
Well,
think
that's the whole point. Exactly. Well, there you
it's
go.
about being creative.
Well, that was my next point. I think for me, at least, I don't know. And I think for all humans, maybe I'm wrong for even saying that, but like, I think having an art form, having a form of expression, art form of expression is very,
Define art form. Does it have to be music or like is it just
no. Art,
expression, right?
expression,
Yeah.
expression.
Yeah.
You know, like someone might go rock climbing and be like, that's his art form and the way he climbs rocks and the way he grabs rocks and I don't know. For me, it's not for me to say that. I don't know. It's not for me to tell someone how to express or what's right or wrong expression. No, that's not where I'm coming from. But I'm saying having a thing that a person feels that they are expressing themselves.
Yeah, the deepest self, right?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I think
For me, that is spiritual well-being.
correct.
That is
Expressing
how I
yourself.
define it. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. I would agree.
Feeling
Spiritual
like you're
stuff for me,
expressing and
spiritual stuff for me is self-expression. Correct.
yeah, you're actioning your deepest self and
And I
values.
think it's a mix of I think the spiritual realm for me at least is one self-expression and two selflessness, helping others. I really feel that that's also good for my soul.
Yeah.
Helping others makes
Because
me feel good. It's
because I
not
think
bad.
on a deep subconscious level, we all know how social we are as human beings and how fundamental others are to our life. So like that touches a deep value
Yeah, totally,
in us.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I look at pillars of health. It's something that isn't for me at least. Again, everyone can use it differently. I don't really mind. It's not for me to. I'm just saying for me, it's not. It's inseparable. It's like one unit. It's like trying to separate my mind. It's trying to. It doesn't work. My mind is my mind. There's no. Yes, there's different compartments in my mind, but it's my mind. It's one thing.
Yeah, I think what's happened here is that like I'm someone who loves to define things because I find that is a useful and adaptive thing to do. Like yeah, but maybe we vary on that scale of desire to define things.
No, it hits a point where for me, like I see it as health is one thing. And yes, in health, I've divided it into different categories to help me better understand my health.
Yeah,
Sure. And maybe for you, maybe your 5 pillars are actually 9 pillars and you've
yeah,
divided emotional into 10 different things. I don't know. That's up to you. Like again, it's about creating your own toolbox that works for you, you
yeah,
know? And
yeah.
yeah,
I
for
mean,
me, the way I've done it is just I've divided it into 5 things, and that's just what it is for me.
so for me, like I've identified like this is just where I'm at. I've identified, as I've said, like the emotional needs working on, and I'm a big believer, like, it's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's cognition, like you think about, you reframe it like mentally, which you need, and you have to also act like the behavioral. So inevitably, I've been brainstorming actions that are going to help with that healing or bringing that up to like an 80 or whatever from a general 50. And so inevitably those kind of things, like for example, one of the things I thought about was like, I think it's based on, the experiences. I think it's always individual, like based on my individual experiences that I've had growing up, when I had emotions growing up, how I dealt with them, how the environments received that, how the people received that, how I interpreted that. So it's very individual. But like for me, for example, one of the things to help with that might be like, if I'm feeling sadness, for example, is like actually going to somebody and like, and like expressing that sadness. Oh, I'm sad about this, this, and this. And then getting that, like feeling that safety, that support from someone who's like, it's okay. Like, I'm here for you. Like, do you want to go do something, blah, blah, blah. So I think that ticks, like, for
When you're
example,
feeling happy, do you feel the need to go to someone and say, I'm feeling happy about this, this, and this?
I think sometimes it's good to be able to express your happiness to people.
Yeah. I mean, I see it as equal. Me personally, I see it as equal.
Yeah. See, I think part, like for me, I think it's both. Yeah. I think I've also, when I've been happy, like kind of not express that emotion as well.
I think a nice way of expressing emotions or understanding emotion, should I say better, is understand that maybe I'm wrong again, but I feel like different emotions have different weights to them, So for example, being excited is quite a feathery emotion. You feel lighter on your feet, you're jumping, you're walking faster, things are, whereas feeling nervous for something, there's a resistance. You don't walk so fast, you're a bit closed, you're a bit, feeling happy is up, feeling sad is down. Like
it's electricity. It's electricity. It's electricity.
Yeah, it's an energy. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, electricity is, it's causing certain, like certain
there's an energy.
Carry.
That's what I'm saying. So different emotions have different weights, and different weights require different strength to lift them. So maybe if you're feeling super excited and happy, you don't need so much weight to express yourself, and it's easier to express.
Hey, Tutti. Tutti. No smokings, Tutti. No smokings.
And like for me, like I know the heaviest thing I've ever felt was depression, like proper depression.
Yeah.
And it's different to waking up and having a bad day, and it's a different weight. It has a different feeling to it. And anyone who's felt sad before or felt depressed before, they'll agree it's a different weight. It's a different feeling. It's a different beast. And different weighted emotions require different exercises to lift those emotions. Or to move those emotions, should I say? It's not about lifting. It's
about moving the emotions, isn't it? That's it.
It's about moving the emotion. And there's certain exercises.
My uncle always used to say this, which I like. Emotion is energy in motion. It's just literally energy moving. And I think
it's about moving those emotions. And I think depression is when it's very stuck in something.
Stuck.
And it takes a lot of momentum to move those emotions, to create motion. Yeah.
That's it. And also, like, I guess let's come back to like a younger example. If like we can suppress our emotions, and what I was realizing, like, if I have an emotion that is like, let's say I'm feeling an anxiety, or a sadness, which is kind of the emotion I feel like I feel a lot, like just a general sadness, not like depression or like any, and it comes up a lot in relationships. And I think for me, like it kind of might have started young, feeling sad and not having a way of moving that. And as a result, and potentially feeling like, oh, I can't express this sadness, And I've also been thinking a lot about like the schooling system. Like, you go to school like in UK or whatever, if there are people who don't encourage your emotions to like validate them and make a space where it's okay to have certain emotions, and express them and kind of work through them and move them. It's like, I'm pretty sure I remember feeling so sad when I went to school when I was like 5 or whatever, for whatever reason. And I'm pretty sure at that time I would have been like, okay, get it together. Like, you have to, like, you can't be sad in this environment. Like, you know, it's not okay to be sad in a classroom environment. People here to work, blah, 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 blah. But doing things like that can actually stop the emotion, and it's not in motion anymore. And as a pattern, and like, I guess,
But there's also a level of like taking a 5-year-old to school for the first time, and he's got attachment to his mom or dad, and he's afraid to leave, and he's feeling these emotions, and he's feeling sad. There's also a level of resilience that needs to be taught, and be like, it's not the time to cry. It's the time to be brave. It's the time to step up. It's, you know, that's also healthy to teach that.
but yes, but I guess, yeah,
Again,
if that's not taught, then
it needs to be done properly.
has to be done properly. If that was taught like that, it's like, okay, you're feeling very sad now. Maybe have a cry at lunchtime, or maybe have a cry when you get home, and or maybe tell your mom this, and this. Oh, I'm feeling really sad today, and have a cry later. And it's great to be brave and resilient now. But I very much encourage you to have that cry later. Like, instead of, but the opposite could be like, oh, just get on with it. Like, sit straight, you know, like concentrate on math. Like, they're very distinct responses that can have very different.
Totally. You can't expect a system. You can't expect a system though to cater to 40 kids in a classroom though, who are having different emotional spectrums and shit.
Well, then that's the question. Is the system really good? You know,
of course, there's flaws in the system.
Yeah, of course.
Plenty.
Yeah, we're not here to get into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Conversation,
plenty of flaws in the system. I guess it comes down to the first thing we said in this conversation is like, I am now a man, and I am now responsible for the shit that is in me. And yes, a lot of this stuff could have come from bad parenting or bad life situations, but cool, I am now a man, and I am responsible, and I can fix this, and I will fix this, and I am in charge of my life.
And then I think,
and that's what being for me, and that's what for me, being a man for me is being responsible for my shit.
And by man, we don't say, probably a better word is adult, right?
No, but for me, like again, everyone's going to say different. Someone might say adult, some might say woman, some might say, I don't care what anyone else. For me, it's not about anyone else. For me, it's what makes me a man, what makes me that thing in my mind, which to me is a man. Like, to me, it's a man. I don't care what it is to someone else. It makes no difference what it is to someone else. But to me, yeah, like, that's what it is, about being responsible and owning and seeing that, yeah, cool, there's heaps of things in my parents.
And then I think this is the value of these conversations, because without, you could feel like something's just wrong generally, but like, the more you understand what it is, the more you can take responsibility for it and do skillful action that actually works. You know, if you're feeling emotional,
you have to suffer enough for you wanting to change something, else it's not going to change. It has to be pretty uncomfortable for you to want to change it. So the first step is feeling uncomfortable, and then recognizing why you're feeling uncomfortable, and then you can go into the clarity of it. But you have to feel uncomfortable first to change things, else you're not going to change. If it's comfortable, you're not going to change.
No, of course. Yeah.
So there you go. So things like anxiety and depression and these horrible, horrible emotions and feelings, there's a positive side to it. There's a level of like, if you actually step up to it, you can change that, which is very fucking difficult. It's very difficult.
And that's what we've talked about before. I think.
Personal question. What do you reckon's worse? I'm just curious. What do you reckon is for you a worse emotion, anxiety or depression?
Probably like depression. It's heavier. True. I think it's harder to move.
True.
I think anxiety.
I think anxiety is worse.
I think anxiety can be moved a lot, like a lot easier. It's not as heavy. It's not as dense. I find with anxiety. I find with anxiety a few like rational questioning.
I feel like depression can be comfortable.
And by depression, I don't think I've experienced like it. I think there's levels of depression, but like when I think about depression, I kind of feel, I think of like heaviness, sadness, and kind of hopelessness.
Yeah, totally.
Feeling like heavy. And for me,
I prefer that heaviness feeling and that hopelessness and that sadness and that lack of much more than the feeling of anxiety. Anxiety
really?
fries my brain.
I find anxiety is just like a fear of the future, whereas depression is like, there is no hope. Like there's nothing I can do about it. Like for me, that is very like severe.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, they're both horrible emotions. I was just curious to see where
But
you.
also anxiety. Yeah, I experience anxiety daily, all the time. But like I find that, and I very rarely experience like something like depression. Although the other day I kind of felt that when I was speaking to you, I was feeling depressed, but like I did my things to move it on. Um, but anxiety, I feel like all the time, like I've like a little, like my mind just goes to the future. Something about it is like dangerous to my subconscious mind. But I guess when I'm aware of that and I have the tools to like, ask the right questions
I guess
and
that's what it comes down to. And I asked the question, which one you find worse? Maybe your tools with dealing with anxiety are more sharp than your tools of dealing with depression.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Where I
yeah.
feel, I feel the opposite.
And so I feel like, yeah, it's very personal because, as I've mentioned already in this conversation, I feel like sadness is something that I have a lot in relationships. Anxiety comes up too, but it feels like that is like the root of where I have to like look into like what I like. I guess like if
That's the
it's
thing. I think as people, and maybe, yeah, I don't know. I think as people,
1 second louder, 1 second. I'm just gonna get some water. 1 sec.
yeah. I think as people, we forget that. I mean, I don't know, but like, I think everyone has these levels of self-doubt, anxiety, fear of future, depression, relationship issues. Like I think all these things are just, they are universal aspects, and I feel that people are afraid to admit their weaknesses. I don't know what it is. I feel very comfortable talking about it because I actually don't give a flying fuck what anyone thinks about me. So for me to say, yeah, I have troubles with anxiety sometimes, or troubles with depression, or troubles with self-esteem, like I can say that to the world. I don't give a flying fuck because I know that I feel like maybe because I've studied it in my degree, and it's so universal. It's there's points in people's lives where everyone experiences all forms of mental health issues, you know, and I'm comfortable with that in myself. Again, it comes down to accepting yourself. Like, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is my makeup. This is my body. This is my being. These are my things. These are the cards that I have in my life. And I guess maybe that's a fortunate thing, and maybe it's because I've got a beautiful family and I was brought up in a very stable environment that I feel very comfortable in myself. I do.
probably because
Even though I do feel
it's
these things.
probably because I'm a big believer that it's probably because the people that you grew up, like your parents, were very comfortable with their own weaknesses and stuff like that. They're very in
Maybe.
touch with.
I mean, if I look at my family growing up, I look at my dad, and he's been in and out of hospitals since I was born. So I've watched him die and come back to life several times. And so he's that person in my life, loving, caring, strong individual, always bouncing back, always fucking being that thing, always the rock in the family. And then I look at my mom, who's always the carer. That was my upbringing. That's just what it was.
Yeah.
And is that healthy? Is that unhealthy? There's definitely elements that are unhealthy. I look at my whole family, and we all got fucking fear of health and all this shit because, yeah, we've watched my dad be in health issues for sure. But like, I don't know, just as one example, but like, again, it hits a point in life where, I don't know, where self-conscious, you're a conscious being. You can fix this shit.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it comes at a relatively young age. I mean, I feel like for me, when I started becoming self-conscious about my being and the way I want to act in this world and who I want to be and what type of person I want to be, probably 15, 16 years old. Like, let's be real, you know, like.
Can I just pose another thing? Like for me, it's only happened like I've always intellectually, like I feel like the main, like for me, it's only been recent where I truly feel responsible, but like the very subtle difference or the subtle change or the subtle factor that I think is needed for that is that there's a sense of like, there's a problem, but I can do something about it. And like having a solution focused mind that, you know, there is, it's literally like, it's almost like I can't explain it except through like an attitude or a framework. It's like,
It's an
you know,
attitude. I know. I remember growing up, my uncle always used to tell me, oh, I always used to be like, yeah, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. And you always just look at me and you're like, stop trying and just do it. Just because you fail at something doesn't mean you're not doing it. Fail a million times, keep doing it. Eventually you'll
it doesn't mean there's not, yeah, I think I think the attitude is,
attitude.
I haven't found a solution, but there is a solution and I just have to keep on, I guess, keep on focusing on this problem and finding the solution, and eventually I'll come across a solution.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what depression is. The hopelessness is that like there is, so let's say you're someone who's depressed and like,
Yeah, there is no solution.
it's like, okay, I've been there, like I've tried everything, you know, and I believe so deeply that there is no other thing to try that will work. There is no other solution. But I've kind of realized that like what I do is I get a pen and paper and I literally, you know, if I'm thinking about a solution to something, let's say, oh, it's my mental health. Oh shit, it's so bad, blah, blah, blah. And I've tried X, Y, and Z and like 5, 10 different things. I'll get a pen and paper and I'll literally ask myself, okay, what could I do that might help this? Write down whatever it is and write down whatever comes to my mind. And ridiculous things might come to mind. But like, I think when the brain becomes creative and solution focused and like just comes up with ideas that might be a solution, a lot of the time, like there is something that will actually help you in what you're needing to move forward in. And I think also a big thing is that like we usually expect the solution to look a certain way or have a certain result. Let's say you're feeling depressed and you think that the only solution can be something that makes you feel happy when you do it. But the fact is that like maybe the solution is something that will bring you from like a 10 out of 10 depression to a 9. Like that is actually the best solution because things take time and things go in steps. And the thing is, when you think about this solution, you're like, no, that's not it, because you realize that it's never going to bring you to that 5 out of 10 depression. It's like a very small thing. But the fact is that if it brings you to that 9,
and you can find something else that will bring you to the 8.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think our mind says, okay, there is no solution. It is hopeless. But like, it's because our mind is closed and not open to all these solutions because it believes so deeply that it has to look a certain way and it has to be a certain way. And I think that is the cause of depression. Like it's like a belief about yourself, a belief about your life that you are so kind of ingrained in, and you're not open to anything else, that you believe it so deeply that it's so heavy and it's such a strong and all-encompassing experience. You can't think of anything else. And I think it's literally just about opening. I think it's like,
again, there's also, which is definitely worth mentioning, there's also the physical side of brain chemistry, you know. And some people, there is a place with medication and there is a place for that. And I just feel my only stance on that is that there is a place for medication. I do, however, feel that before we just jump onto medication, just get diagnosed and jump into a swimming pool of pills, is to really, really, again, try those things that can take you from a 10 to a 9, from a 9 to an 8, from an 8 to a 7. And if you really, really properly, and again, it's up to you to make that decision for yourself, how honest you are with yourself, how hard you've actually tried. But yeah, and if you can't actually get yourself down from a 10 to a 7, then yeah, there is place for medication, and that should be encouraged.
Agreed. It's one of the options. It's
totally
the only way it wouldn't be one of those options is if you believed that medication was wrong or bad. But if you're open to it, it's just one of the things.
Medication is totally an option. And maybe a lot of people take medication and then can find their solutions and slowly get off the medication. And there's millions of options.
Yeah, it's
to not give up. That's the trick, to not give up.
Exactly.
Giving up is failing. That's the only time you fail, is giving up.
I agree. Not giving up is the key to
Yeah, just don't give
everything.
up.
It's
Correct,
everything.
just don't give up.
There is a solution. You just have to be more
totally.
creative. You just have to be more creative.
Yeah.
And you'll find the solution.
And again, so having beautiful support networks and friends. I mean, I got to be honest. If I didn't have friends in the family I had, I would not be here. That's for sure. No way. After shit I've been through, no fucking way. No way.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. You're right. You need that.
And I look at people who end up in hospital or end up in situations, and they're waking up and they don't have a beautiful family or friends by their bedside, and they don't have the support system when they get out, and they don't have the financial help, and they don't have. I feel fucking blessed.
Yeah.
I feel kissed by God himself with what I have. And I feel blessed, because some people are waking up from the same situations without that. And I don't know how they're doing it, to be honest. And it comes down again to being a good person. You don't know what other people are going through. And it comes down to just, again, being gentle with people, and being nice and being supportive and being a good person. You don't know what the next person's going through, and be grateful for what you do have, and count your blessings, and be a nice person, and try help those around you, and be a good person. I don't know. Being a good person. As long as you're a good person, you've got reason to live, If we're going to go to like the very depths of the darkest places you can be, yeah. Being a good person is worth living. If you can make someone else happy, then that is worth continuing. Full stop.
Yeah, I guess it really it really fills a lot of those.
It fills everything. It fills everything worth living.
Feels your
worth
social.
continuing, and worth growing, and worth exploring. It's everything. Being a good person is everything.
It feels your social, it feels your spiritual, it feels your mental. Those things feel your physical, because you're feeling like good chemistry. So your blood is flowing to your brain, to your muscles.
Totally.
And it's also ticking the social.
And I just got to say, just good sex. Good sex is needed in life.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, 100%. I guess if there's not good sex, then that.
I mean, obviously, good sex is very subjective to each and every person, but
it probably comes all down to the social. That's social.
It's physical. It's fucking physical. It's fucking emotional. It's mental. It's spiritual. It's social. It's everything. Good sex is incredible.
Yeah.
Good, healthy sex. I mean, you look at bad sex, or sex that leaves you feeling empty or anxious or used or whatever. That's the opposite. That'll fuck you up. That'll destroy you.
Yeah.
And I see a lot, especially us growing up, like the boys. You look at the boys, any of the crew. You look at and I'm talking about any group of guys growing up. It's that whole mentality of sex and just the whole thing. And then you grow up, or at least me now, 29. It's like I'm looking for something completely different. Again, parts of myself have grown.
Maturity.
Yeah, parts grow up, other parts don't.
Maturity. The immature emotional person doesn't understand what is healthy emotions, but the mature emotional self realizes how important emotions are, and if those are being compromised in sex, then that's not a mature decision. That's not worth it.
I mean, people who turn to sex as well for like a drug, like drugs. It's the same thing. It's no different. Fulfilling a hole with something that's, no pun intended, but fulfilling a hole with something as a distraction,
Yeah, exactly.
Again, yeah. That's why I really reiterate like healthy sex, not just sex. Healthy sex.
Healthy.
There's a very big difference between sex and healthy sex.
Measured on those levels, on those pillars.
Correct.
You can have unhealthy physical sex. Let's say, like, I don't know, like you're doing things with someone who's like way more flexible, blah, blah, blah. You're hurting yourself. That's physical. Emotionally, with someone who you don't like or something, someone you don't like being in their presence, like your emotional health is going to be affected. And yeah, I guess
I mean, I think every person on this planet who's had somewhat of a sexual experience, more than one or two people. I don't even know how to gauge this in my head, but you know when sex is good for you or when it's bad for you. You know it. Intrinsically, you know it. Full stop. I think that's something that like you just know in your body and your being.
But I think again, it comes down to where you are inside yourself.
Totally.
If you're not well
It all
inside
comes
yourself,
down. Everything comes down to where you are inside yourself.
everything does. Everything. Yeah. If you're not well inside yourself, you can't have good sex. You can't have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to where you're at inside yourself.
Yes, it does.
What this is all about. Hopefully, well-being within, inner well-being.
12:35, Lounder.
It's good. Good sesh.
Good sex.
Good sesh. Yeah, that was fire. Fire rating down.
Nice. Solid brain energy. I feel like I did my pages in a session with you.
Good. It's good. Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, get some stuff out. I'm not sleeping well. I'm fucking tired.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's because I ate a fat fucking pizza last night just before I went to bed.
Yeah, bro.
And I've just woken up just like groggy and just. Oof.
I would sleep so badly if I did that.
Yeah, I literally ate like a large fucking pizza, literally in bed to a movie, fell asleep.
Immature self.
Great decision, love it. In the moment, it was so good. Oh.
We don't realize when we're younger that is like an unhealthy thing to do. So we just like justify it when we're older. But that isn't going to make
it. No. In terms of like the highest choice, no, it's definitely not my healthiest decision. However, in making that decision, it was so worth it. I wouldn't take it back.
I don't want to get into it, but like, yes, that might fulfill you on your mental level, but like maybe it brought your mental to from an 80 to an 85, but your physical down from an 80 to a 60. And it's actually measurably not a correct decision.
Correct.
I like to think about things that way.
Totally. 100%.
Is it worth it?
More.
It's cost versus benefit.
However, in knowing that I took a step backwards as a scale level in what you're saying, correct? Yeah. I still wouldn't take it back.
Yeah, because you can bring yourself back physically.
But there's also life, and life isn't about measuring everything and being so analytical. And that's exactly what I've been practicing. And that's exactly what I've been practicing, not caring. It's also okay not to care.
Maybe that's part of the practice. That's part of the practice, letting go.
That's what I'm trying to practice now. It's the other side of discipline of being like, fuck it. I'm going to have a pizza and eat it in my bed at fucking 1 a.m. and fall asleep at 1:30 to a fucking movie and wake up with a sore stomach. And shit like that. Yeah. Like, yeah. Yes.
Do you think it's...
I did do that. And I don't care.
So I guess if you... Like you can, like, for example, if I'm an anxious person and I do those things and somewhere in me thinks that is a dangerous thing to do. Like,
well, put it this way. If I went to bed tonight and I did the same thing, and then I went to bed again on Monday night and did the same thing, and then I look back and it's been 3 weeks and I've been doing that, then it's an issue for me. Yeah. For sure. Again, it comes down to balance. But for me to doing that last night, after 3 weeks of being a little bit sick and really getting myself back together and eating healthy, yeah, I wanted to fucking stay and smoke a little joint and fucking eat pizza at 1 a.m. Yeah, totally.
I think it comes down to awareness. If you're aware of what you're doing to yourself and you're aware that you're bringing yourself down to a certain level, for me, I don't know, I might be too analytical, but like, I kind of feel like it's like I put myself into a situation through kind of understanding it where I can let go, and I consciously let go. I like, like, it's like, okay, this is like, I've gotten to this place. It's okay to let go in this. Like, and I think the consequences are going to be from like, they're not going to be dire. It's not like I'm putting my life in danger. Like, I understand the consequences. I understand the risk. And I'm going to allow myself to like, the journey to take me to wherever it goes. It might not go to that risk level, but it might, but that's okay. And I'm just going to let go and be in the moment and enjoy it.
It's totally okay. Yeah. Again, life isn't about numbers all the time. Yes, numbers have a very significant, at least for me, a very significant place. And I like to measure
objectivity, measurement. Yes.
Objectivity exactly has a place. And then also life is this metaphysical, spiritual thing that doesn't have boundary and doesn't have numbers and doesn't have analytics. It's just got this thing. Like, who gives a fuck?
It's true.
Fuck it.
Play, right?
Play.
Work hard, play harder.
Play. Correct. That's the word.
Work hard, play hard.
Play, have fun, enjoy it, whatever. Yeah, you did have sex with that random person. Yeah, you did eat pizza at 1 a.m. Yeah, you forgot to fucking wake up early. Like, who gives a fuck? Fuck it. There's times and places to allow for play, because that's also healthy.
And I think it's about oscillating between balance and imbalance in a healthy way.
Balance and imbalance is balance. Correct.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
I know. I feel like people always think like being in balance is like having the scales like this and they're not moving. No, like balance is this, the moving of up and down and being sad and happy and being disciplined and not disciplined, but you're still on a trajectory that's doing this. You know,
it's like what they say.
You want your trajectory to be a nice incline. You don't want this fucking wavy, fucking up down emotional fucking roller coaster in your life. No, at least
like what they say. It's not what happens to you. It's what you do. It's always about what you do about it. If you go out of balance, it's okay if you can bring yourself back into balance.
Yeah.
But if you can't, then it's not okay.
Correct.
It's all about action. It's all about responsibility, being responsible and
awareness
is the first step to being responsible for your own life, right?
Oh, before you go, let me find something in one of my pages. 1 second. Let me see if I can find it for you. Here. No.
This is straight up fire.
There's an older one. Oh, I'll never find it. Maybe I will. I wrote on the top of the page once. Maybe it's this one. No, it's this one. Oh, there's a really beautiful thing that I wrote. I never go back through my pages, but you just reminded me of something. Check this book.
Oh, what a beautiful day. I'm very excited to go outside.
Oh, fuck it. I don't know where it is. I'll check this last one, maybe. If it pops up, it pops up. Nah, can't find it.
It's the crux of it.
Is what it is. Lounder, I'm gonna have to get on with my day.
Me too.
Thank you for your time.
You too. It was great.
Yeah. Let me know how it all goes. Big love.
Yeah. Big love. All right, see you soon.
Legend. Peace, brother. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.